Hello, everyone. Welcome to CXO Spice. CXO Spice is a platform for thought leaders to share their point of view on innovation and explain how to make it happen in the real world. I'm your host, Helen Yu. We normally don't cover the book launch for CXO Spice, but this is a special edition because this book is so critical and relevant to the new era here. Our topic today is the cyber resilience reckoning. Our special guest is Govind Rangasamy, Head of Recovery Solutions and VP of Portfolio Marketing at Commvault. Hello, Govind. Welcome to CXO Spice. Congrats on the recent book launch.
Thank you, Helen. Really great to thank you for having me here as well, and appreciate the time that you have allocated.
It's such a pleasure having you here, Govind. So before we dive into your book, let's have you introduce yourself and your role at Commvault.
Sure. So I'm Govind Rangasamy, former founder and CEO of Appranix that was acquired by Commvault. Now it's Commvault Cloud Rewind. Within Commvault, I help the teams to scale Cloud Rewind business. Go around and talk to many customers of Commvault and otherwise to be able to adapt the solution, to be able to help them. So I help the team within Commvault.
Yeah, I went through that Cloud Rewind hands-on tour last year at AWS re:Invent. So thank you for the solution. Really resonated with me.
It's one of the very unique solutions in the market. Thank you.
Yeah, let's dive into this, the core challenge that's reshaping how organizations think about cyber resilience. I love the title of your book, by the way, the Cyber Resilience Reckoning. So what's the reckoning moment that organizations are facing now with AI-enhanced attacks?
So if you look at the reckoning moment that is organizations are waking up, is that recovery as organizations practice today is just an illusion. It's just an illusion because most organizations have backups, some kind of a run book, scripts and processes around, and they were all designed for outages and accidents. They were not designed for attacks or adversaries coming in and taking over the systems, right? So what we are saying is that resilience should be at the forefront. You can never be prepared for all kinds of accidents coming in. Got to be prepared all the time. So when you are prepared, when the fire hits, you don't want to show up to a fire with a bucket full of holes, in short form, right? You want to be prepared. You want those systems to work. You do not want the scripts to be stale at the time of recovery. So you want to be prepared, and that is a reckoning moment right now.
Yeah, I share your observation, right? And I concur too. One thing that really stands out in your book is this concept of not trying to boil the ocean. You advocate for a strategic approach that starts with essentials, right? You talked about quite a bit about starting small with what you call minimum viability. For someone listening who is overwhelmed by everything that's happening, how do they figure out which systems they can live without?
So you will have to really think in practical terms, not from IT systems point of view, and the list could be shorter than you think. For example, you could start from, hey, if these systems go down, if these processes that are running go down, what would be the impact if it goes down, let's say 24 hours? Is it going to really impact my shareholders, my employees, my all the partners and my customers? You will have to really think from those angles. And if those systems go down, is it going to affect your safety or your reputation or your revenue, right? Is it top of the mind? And then once you figure out those questions, the list could be very, very short. It could be your authentication systems, your communication systems, and your critical databases that, without those, you cannot live for 24 hours, right? Because the effect is much more than just the systems going down. It's about the business continuity. And
Mhm.
there are so many, nuances to that. So it's easier to think from your practical point of view, not from IT systems perspective when you think about minimum viability.
That makes total sense to me. Some of the companies I work with don't even know how many endpoints they have, right? So you got to start understanding the lay of the land and then understanding the business impact associated with all the systems you have in place. Totally get it. Yeah. So that actually brings us to critical shift that's happening, right? The speed at which these attacks are now unfolding. Your book talked about AI attacks compromising timeline from days to minutes. For IT teams used to have hours or days to respond, what does this mean for how they need to think about defense?
So the old idea of, after an attack, we'll escalate it and then we'll figure out through some process mechanism, and then you institute some kind of a solution around it. By the time you realize your backup systems might be attacked as well. So it's not just, you trust your backup systems, because the attackers might go after your backup systems first nowadays. So the best way is to simply assume that you are under attack all the time, right? So you don't have to really prepare for that eventual attack or an outage due to ransomware being in there. By assuming that you're under attack, now you practice differently. You start practicing, hey, if there are minimum viable components in my business, can I practice the rebuild aspect of those systems?
Mhm.
How do I really bring them and think from a resiliency perspective? So resiliency is not defending the attacks. It's about practicing the recovery, the practice of rebuild, not
Mhm.
only once, but again and again and again, because the number of attacks that are coming in, the AI-driven attacks that are coming into the environment, and the speed of which,
Mhm.
right, is unbelievable. The encryption events that we have seen is not short. It's not taking days. The encryption events are minutes,
Mhm.
right? And that is a problem. So assume that you are already attacked and practice resiliency using rebuild mechanism. Develop that, muscle memory, if you will.
Yeah, that's such an important mindset. It's not about if we will be attacked, it's about when, right? And then I love the fact that practicing resiliency with rebuild mindset, right? The muscle memory, that's really resonate with me too. So let's address something that might be a shocking revelation for many of our listeners about their backup strategy. A lot of people think have myself included way back then, right? Having backup means they're covered. But
Mhm.
you are saying AI enhanced ransomware can weaponize these backup systems. So what's the biggest wake-up call you've seen when organizations realize this?
So if you think about, and they're all public news nowadays, and if you look at the MGM
Yeah.
attack, right, it not only took down the entire system, but also went after the backup. And eventually, the slot machines were not working,
Mhm.
the hotel check-ins were not happening, and they all relied on the backup system being kind of clean copies of data that they can recover. Or if you look at Clorox attack, they realized that the backups were there, right? The backups copies were there.
Mm.
And they also did a compliance-oriented DR test only weeks before the
Mhm.
attack. But see what has happened. The attack literally showed them that the recovery is going to take weeks, if not months.
Yeah.
And by the time they put together the systems and back up and running, it was like almost a month plus, and that had real impact on their bottom line. So when they announce the financial report next quarter, they had to take a big hit. So that's a reality. It's not about having a backup for your compliance reasons. You got to have, without backup, nothing works, but you got to also have that mindset, right? So you cannot have, I call it as a backup and pray model to test and triumph model. So it's a mindset. It is again the reckoning moment, right? Don't just pray because you had the backup. You got to test.
Yeah, you raised a salient point there. MGM attack actually happened right under my nose in September 2023. Right, I walked into that chaos of supposed to meet a client for a conference. So, that really brings up another dimension to this that goes beyond just technical systems, right? It's about the intelligence that drives business decisions. You mentioned that these attacks rob businesses and AI agents of access to intelligence they need. Can you explain what you mean by that, and how does this impact business decision making?
So assume that you have a business going down, and I don't want to be opportunistic, but you can read BBC all day long and think about JLR situation, right? What's happening is that it's not just the IT systems going down. It is the leaders' data points, the intelligence that they use from those data points to make those decisions, to pay even to their partners. And the downstream impact is really, really detrimental to their partners, their employees, right? The manufacturing unit. So that's the level of situation that's happening. So your intelligence, or the intelligence driven by the production data and the reports that you would get, let's say, every day morning or every 4 hours, right? Now it's gone. And with all these AI assistants, machine learning and the technologies that organizations use, they are all fed by the production data again. So if that production data stops going into these decision-making helpers or AI assistants, now, you don't have the latest data. Now imagine the type of decisions you'll end up making.
Oh, yeah.
Completely off. And without those systems coming back, your intelligence network is down. And that is much worse. So this is not just an insurance policy, if you will. This is a business continuity issue.
Yeah, absolutely. There's also reputation damage, right?
Indeed.
Imagine that. And then that's, now let's get practical about the solutions, right? Your book actually introduces some technical concepts that might sound complex. So I think our audience could benefit from understanding what they actually mean in practice. For example, this point in time infrastructure recovery. Can you explain what that means in plain English? And then, like, what would I see happening if I was watching this work?
The easiest way to imagine this is almost having Netflix for your application infrastructure. So just like how you would go back your Netflix show to a different point in time and resume as if nothing happened because you missed it, you could get that kind of an effect if you practice that rebuild using the latest technologies, what we call as a point in time recovery of not only the data, but the applications, the network, the dependencies that the applications use are the external dependencies, and also tying to your communication system and so on. So that's the effect the technologies available today can provide. And we happen to provide one of those technologies in the market today.
I sat through this recovery range tabletop exercise last night at a Conval organized at Falcom. And it was super impactful, right? To visualize exactly the step by step, how you can really monitor the events, monitor the incidents, and, have a single pane of glass to see everything that's happening. Just fascinating. Thanks for raising this, right? This is exactly where the conversation shifts from the technical to the strategic business case, right?
Mhm.
So I sit on the board today, a couple boards, and when you tell a CEO they need to invest in resilience approach, how do you frame it in terms of business continuity rather than just IT recovery?
Yeah, so resilience and backup and recovery systems are not an insurance policy
Mhm.
for your business, because nowadays the conversation is at the board level. So you will have to really think from a business continuity perspective. What that means is that you will have to really ask practical questions,
Yeah.
right? Setting aside those complex IT systems, you cannot search through your IT catalog of, hey, here are my 2000 applications and components, and which one am I supposed to choose? You could start from simple questions like, so if one of the systems go away, payment processing, or customer consoles,
Mhm.
or some of those systems that are really, really critical, and ask those questions. If I lost those systems for 24 hours, right, cold, can I survive? If that is the case, can I figure out a mechanism to be able to test those recoveries for my
Mhm.
resilience? So resilience is not an insurance policy anymore. Cyber resilience is not an insurance policy. It is a business continuity problem. Because
Mhm.
without that business continuity, you cannot even make decisions after that. You'll be firefighting mode all the time.
I love that, right? And resilient, the resilience is not an insurance policy, it's really business continuity. That's so critical, such a critical mindset. Now, here's something from your book that might make some IT professionals very uncomfortable, the idea of intentionally breaking things. So you suggest that organizations should break their own systems on purpose to test recovery. That sounds terrifying to most IT people, right? How do you convince them this is a good idea?
Yeah, it is. It's almost reckless if you think about it the way we paint it, because to invoke that emotion that you will have to test and you will have to introduce that controlled chaos. And the systems are available today. For example, you don't have to take a hammer to your production and break it down. That's not what we are saying. Is that you could actually, with the help of technologies available today from ComWatt and otherwise, you could take a clone of your environment, right? Exact clone at that moment,
Mhm.
and introduce all kinds of chaos engineering into it, known problems injected into the cloned environment. And that way, now you can really see what all the technologies that are getting impacted, what all the processes and the behavior of people. So your teams are not unprepared by the time a real attack comes. They know what needs to be done ahead of time, right? They might have the scripts, but the scripts could be completely stale.
Mhm.
And the attack could come through a system or a layer that they might have not even expected. So in those situations, how would they behave? So we can pretty much give that capability to have a twin of the production without affecting the production. So it continues as usual. And now you can test with the backup copies or in the configurations and the dependencies of a real world production environment and inject all kinds of failures up until the point where you are comfortable 90-95% of it. Now your teams are really aligned towards, hey, if that attack comes, I know what to do,
Mhm.
right? It's almost like the flight simulators.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to take a plane with full of people, go and crash to test it. That's reckless. Or automobile manufacturers doing the dummy testing. That's what we are talking about. It's basically putting dummies in a test car and test them.
Mhm.
That's what we are talking about from a chaos test perspective.
I have seen that working effectively firsthand, right? I'm really pretty much very supportive of this approach. But that's really end this conversation with more actionable guidance. I know there are people listening right now who are thinking they need to act on this, right? If someone want to think, okay, I'm convinced now, but where do I start? So what's the very first thing they should do tomorrow morning?
Yeah, and the list actually is shorter than you think. As I mentioned before, you look at the minimum slice of your business that are critical to your revenue generation, your reputation, your safety. And you don't have to go through your IT catalog completely. So choose those critical ones and the surrounding processes that are really, really important and put through a rebuild test. Make sure that minimum components can be rebuilt really quickly. And testing again and again, creating that muscle memory within your teams is very, very critical. Now, once you have that, you can expand from there to a lesser critical set of systems. And when you think about it, even when you are trying to create new systems, the teams will be prepared, right, with that approach. And so the list is shorter than you think. You can do it. The technologies are available. We have done this many, many times with other customers. So we can help you out with our technology capabilities, our product capabilities, our know-how, the best practices that we have gathered. So all the help are available.
Thank you. I mean, I got it. I would absolutely recommend you to my clients, right? So Govind, thank you so much for sharing these invaluable insights with us. Here are 4 key takeaways from our conversation today. Number 1, the agentic threat changes everything, right? AI enhanced ransomware compromises attack timelines from days to minutes, making traditional backup and hope strategies obsolete. Organizations must shift from prevention-only mindset to proven rebuild capabilities, right? I love the fact that you mentioned about important to have a mindset, then really to the mindset to be prepared, right, for the attack to happen, and then the mindset to rebuild constantly, continuously. Number 2 is start with minimum viability. Don't try to protect everything at once. Identify your business critical systems. Like you said, shortlist that. And those you literally can't operate without, and focus your rebuild testing efforts first. And this makes the overwhelming challenge of cyber resilience manageable and achievable. Number 3, I love what you said about backups are not recovery, right? Having data copies doesn't really guarantee you can restore functioning systems. And modern ransomware specifically targets backup infrastructure, and true resilience requires regular testing of complete environment rebuilds, not just data restoration. And today we have the technology that can help you have the full view of where you are at and how you can back up on a continuous basis. And lastly, break it before it breaks you, right? Intentionally chaos testing and controlled system failure build this muscle memory for real crisis. Organizations that regularly test their rebuild capabilities under stress conditions recover exponentially faster than those that discover problem during actual attacks. So Govind, thank you so much. Such a pleasure having you here. Thanks again for sharing your insights on the cyber resilience reckoning. I can't wait getting a copy of your book. But thank you everyone for joining us today. Stay hungry, stay bold, and stay grateful.
Thank you, Helen, for having me. Appreciate it.